Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. So, this episode, I won't be commentating on politics. Instead, I'll be contributing to the culture, specifically gun culture. And the reason why I'm doing this is because in 2020, there were 5 million first time gun buyers, meaning that there's 5 million blank slates out there, 5 million people not knowing how to field strip their weapons platform and knowing the importance of maintaining a clean weapon system, because one of the first things I learned in the military is if you didn't clean your weapon, if you had a dirty weapon, it would malfunction at the most inopportune time. And if your weapons malfunction while deployed, you'd find yourself being dry humped by an Afghan goat herder, and nobody wants that. So hopefully this will help somebody out, at least somebody who owns a Sig P365 or a Sig P365 XL. But before we get started, how about you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. It helps with the algorithm. Let's get started. So, I have my brand new, well, few weeks old, Sig P365 XL, and so far I really like it. The trigger is a little meh, not a fan of the red dot, but this holster is great. I'm going to be doing a review about everything on this holster in the next few weeks. I just need to run more rounds through it and basically go, okay, this is a go or a no go. But so far, the weapon itself is fantastic. It shoots better than I do. Like I said, the trigger's kind of meh, but it's a concealed carry weapon. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to do everything good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out of this MFT holster, again, that I'm a big fan of. I'm going to drop the magazine. I'm going to ensure that the weapon is clear. You always assume that a weapon is loaded until you're sure, or that you make sure that it's not, right? So weapon is clear. I'm going to lock the slide back. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it's going to aid in the next step. You have your slide release lever, and right next to it, you have your takedown lever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that takedown lever 90 degrees. And by rotating that down 90 degrees, I'm going to slide the slide back a little bit. I'm not going to depress the slide release because I like to just write it down by hand. As you can tell, as soon as it started basically going back down to where it is normally, it already started sliding forward on the rails, and I'm just going to keep sliding that off. And here you go. You have your frame here, and you have your complete slide assembly here in my left hand. You have your recoil spring assembly, and basically all you do is you kind of just slide it up. It kind of pops off this lip right here. You just slide it right out. Easy peasy. Nothing to it. Just make sure nothing kind of rolls away. But thankfully, when you field strip this particular weapon, there's nothing small. It's fantastic. And you just pull out the barrel and you're good to go. So what I would normally do to clean this is I use like a stiff bristle toothbrushes with a little CLP. I'll kind of just drop it in kind of everywhere. I'm one of those people who clean by making a mess, if that makes any sense. And then I just kind of scrub any excess carbon off the weapon. Same thing with the barrel. I'll take the rag that I'll use to kind of wipe everything off, and I'll just slide it through the barrel, pull out excess carbon. Nothing crazy on the recoil spring. I'll just make sure that it's clean, doesn't have any carbon buildup on it. And I'll probably drop a drop of lube around the trigger spring in order to just smooth out the trigger. I'm still working on that. The trigger feels really gritty, not a fan of it. So like I said, I've been lubing it up just every few times I shoot, and it seems to be making a difference. It's still breaking in, so it could eventually turn into a fantastic trigger. But at this time, again, not a big fan of it, but it does everything I need it to do. So it's one of these things where if I wanted a competition trigger, then I'd have a competition gun. But I want a good concealed carry weapon that I know is always going to fire when I pull that trigger. And that means I'm not going to basically dick around with this. I'm going to keep it stock, because as soon as you start swapping in aftermarket parts, you have your tolerance build up, and certain things will stop working with other things if you just keep monkeying around with stuff. Keep it simple, guys. This is a great weapon. Basically, out of the box, you have your red dot. I'm probably going to add a TLR6 onto this eventually, but that's a story for another day. And to reassemble, you have your slide, you have your barrel. This goes on the outside, as you can tell, and you just kind of just drop that into place and slide it back, and you're good to go. You have your recoil spring assembly, and you're going to drop it into that little hole right there. Nothing to it. and then you're just going to kind of push it in a little bit and pop it into place. I like to give it a little wiggle just to ensure that it's actually seated, that it has tension the way it's supposed to, because sometimes it'll kind of just like not really sit in there, and it just creates issues eventually when you shoot. So I just like ensuring that it's in there. And you line up the grooves with the notches, and you slide the slide back, and you hit your slide catch. And as you notice, the takedown lever is spring loaded. It just went back to where it was supposed to go, and you can hit your slide release. I like to ride the slide forward, and I'll perform a functions check. A functions check just ensures that the weapon cycles the way that it should. So pull the trigger, listen for the reset. There you go. Squeeze the trigger one more time, and reset one more time. Good to go. I'm going to throw this empty magazine back into the pistol and throw it back into the holster. There's nothing to it. It takes probably about 10 to 15 seconds to take it down, about 10 to 15 seconds to put it back together. It's easy, and the more you do it, the more comfortable it'll be. And like I said, a dirty weapon will fail at the least opportune time. And if it fails, you'll find yourself in a bad situation, because if you feel that the situation called for you to have to draw down on somebody and your weapon malfunction, now you have an angry person and a malfunctioning weapon. So what are you going to do? Sports may not fix it. Slapping the magazine, pulling on the charging handle, observing into the chamber, releasing that charging handle, tapping on the forward assist, and squeezing the trigger again may not cut it, because you neglected to ensure that your weapon was in functioning condition. And that's how you get dry humped by an Afghan goat herder, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. All of that helps with the algorithm. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, guys, have a good one. Bye.